and start and hope she chimes in. So I will call to order the meeting of the Greenwood Police Merit Commission. This is Thursday, October 8th, 2020, and it's 5:06. Linda's saying she keeps getting a message that says WebEx is not available.
I don't know. I went to webex.com and said join a meeting.
I just went from Jeff's email and just clicked on that button and it took me right to it.
My guess is her internet access is down for some reason.
Okay.
She should be able to.
Yeah, she's on.
Here she is. Okay, well, roll call, please.
Commissioner Brogan.
Here.
Commissioner McQueen.
Here.
Commissioner Sherman.
Here.
Commissioner Treach.
Here.
Commissioner Walker.
Here.
Attorney Linda Meyer.
I am finally here.
And also present is Chief of Police James Eisen and Recording Secretary Misty Tuarte.
Okay, has everyone had a chance to review the meeting minutes from September 10th?
Yeah.
Are there any comments, additions, corrections?
Just one on item 9. There was a motion to approve the contract and not the claim.
Okay,
I'm sorry, what did you say?
Just on item 9, there was a motion to approve the contract instead of claim.
I'll get that fixed.
Thank you.
We have some background noise. Can someone?
yeah, Linda, mute your mic if you're not talking, please.
Okay. I mean, there's no, I'm sitting in my office. There's no noise. So
I think so.
I don't have a little microphone anywhere here to mute.
Okay. All right. Well, with that change to the minutes, do I hear a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion.
Do I hear a second? All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay. Old business. We'll just move on to new business. I'll cover it. New business. Everyone got a copy of the new ordinance that was presented for an introduction at the council meeting Monday night.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, I think Chief, and I apologize because since my brother's passed, I've lost track of the time. So I know, oh, Chief, I don't know if you sent it to me Saturday or Sunday.
Sunday.
Okay. So I think I sent it on to you, and I think Linda even sent it out again too. So I was not able to attend the council meeting, but I know Mike attended.
Well, Joy was there and so was Tom.
And so was Linda Meyer.
And
Okay.
Linda Meyer was there
Okay.
as well.
Okay. Did anyone want to make any comments about this ordinance that's been presented? I think everyone's aware that the one presented that went for the reading 2 weeks ago had been voted down 9-0. I think with the understanding that a amendment or ordinance, whatever, ordinance, I guess, to cover the laterals would be done. I know there was some discussion during council meeting, and I went and pulled the minutes as far as the committee being formed with 2 police officers and 2 merit people and 2 council people. But apparently Shauna and the president of the council or whatever had said that if we all agreed on it, there wasn't any need for a committee. But since we didn't really have time to review it as a merit, as the board, I don't know. I guess I'm just disappointed that we weren't all included in this. I did note, the one thing does raise the age to 40, which is state statute, right, Linda? She's trying to unmute. So shaking her head, yes. Okay. So any thoughts from any of you that attended or even those who didn't attend?
Wendy? Wendy? Huh? I shared some information with you that I had learned about after the meeting. I don't know if you want me to share that with the full board or not.
I have no problem with you sharing it.
I don't know if it would be beneficial for us to try to meet with the administration. I'm not really sure how things have gotten what apparently is crosswise, and why you all have been left out of this process. After the meeting, I had an individual tell me that they had overheard David Hopper and Mike Campbell talking about it. And David Hopper made a very disparaging remark, in my opinion. And I believe I'm quoting this correctly, indicated that he didn't know why those dumbasses didn't just do what the council said. I find that very disrespectful and unprofessional. And I think it is unworthy of his position. I don't know why Shauna made the statements that she made. I was frankly very appalled at how untruthful they were. I've always had a very good working relationship with Shauna, and I don't know what has happened. I wasn't even planning to speak. In fact, I told Mike, I said, you present on behalf of the commission. I'm really just here to take notes and answer questions if necessary. But after Shauna's statement, and you could hear it if there's a video of it online, she pretty much reported that she and I had discussed throwing out the ordinance many times. I have not spoken to Shauna in years until a few weeks ago when she called me and asked me my opinion about what I thought how you would feel about lateral transfers. And I think I even reported it to you all at the next meeting. I said, they've contacted me, and I replied that I thought you all would be favorable to that because you all are very aware of the need to get boots on the ground as soon as possible. And I didn't feel like there would be any resistance whatsoever. It was a conversation that was probably less than 5 minutes. And that was the first time I've spoken to her. I mean, I can't even tell you the last time I had a conversation with her. And in fact, there were times I think people had asked me, is she still even working for City Legal? I said, as far as I know, I haven't talked to her for a very long time. So I don't know if it would do any good to request a meeting and find out what in the world is going on and why there is such apparent disregard and disrespect for all of you. You are civilian volunteers. You've devoted a lot of time. You have a lot of experience to bring to this process. I don't even know if the council members have ever read the ordinance, if they've ever read your rules and procedures, if they ever have even read about what you all do. I would guess they haven't, that they have no idea what the processes are. And you all have been very devoted as members of this commission. And I frankly find it extremely offensive. And I believe Mr. Hopper is your representative on the council. I find it very offensive that he would speak about you, and he may have meant me as well, in that manner. And I called Wendy and said, I don't know if I should put this on the record or how you want to handle it. And I've left it up to her as far as informing you all of this. But I do not appreciate a council member speaking about my kids like this.
And I don't know, honestly, I know at one time he was supposed to be the liaison between the council and us, but I think I asked at one point, and I don't even think they do that anymore. But I guess, you know, I don't understand it either, because we had spoke with John Louth before he left regarding doing something with the transfers. You know, it was my understanding that they were John and, okay, was it, help me out here, was it Mike and Tom were supposed to meet with John and work on this? And then, you know, then John announced he was leaving, and he made the comment at one of the meetings, well, you guys will have to work with Jimmy now, because I'm leaving.
Exactly.
Like 2 weeks before he left, because I remember making the comment about what are you going to do for the next 2 weeks. But so I guess I don't understand too why we haven't been included in any of this. Okay, going ahead, that aside, yeah, and it disappoints me greatly. I mean, they're civilian volunteers as well. We all want the best for the city. I just don't understand why we can't work together, or what we've done to eliminate them. That being aside, it was an introduction. Well, let me go on. Joy, Mike, or Tom, do you have any comments you guys want to make since you were there?
I thought Mike did a nice job of stepping up the microphone, saying what we're concerned. Linda did an excellent job too. We were well represented, and I'm sorry council didn't take it more serious, or at least listen to us.
I might make one comment. They suspended the rules on the introduction of this ordinance. The vote was actually the first reading vote. So it'll go before the next session of the council. Am I correct in that, Jimmy?
Yes, yeah, it'll go for the final vote on the 19th.
I think it's going to be incumbent upon us to develop the rules for the lateral transfer program. And I've got a copy of the Carmel PD's lateral transfer procedures. And I think probably all we need to do is to contact Shauna and tell her that, you know, we find the ordinance to be acceptable to us. We just, you know, would hope to be included in some of the future discussions that involve, the Police Merit Commission. Are you hearing me, Linda?
I am, but I think Wendy's turned off. Okay.
Yeah, I did. I was going to ask everybody to mute themselves if they weren't talking, and I muted myself.
Oh.
But because it was a little difficult to hear Mike. But yeah, I agree. And Linda, I'm going to have to defer to you on this. So in this document, and I apologize, I have not had time nor the presence of mind to look up these municipal codes. So do we, if this ordinance gets passed, does that still give us the ability to write up the procedures, or what are we going to have to follow if this gets approved? As far as, I mean, I know Chief gave us that information for Carmel.
Yeah.
But all these codes that are cited, are those already procedures in place, or that just says we can establish a lateral?
I am going to have to go through this and cross-reference the code sites to what you all already have in your rules and procedures, and in any other document that or rule that you all have to follow. You're going to have to amend your rules and procedures, certainly, and so that's a process. And then the ordinance, it'll put in place that you are allowed to hire laterals, but there's got to be something in place that designates, okay, if you've already got a hiring list and then you want to bring in laterals, how does that impact an existing hiring list? Or are we now just going to go to a lateral hiring list and not have what I will refer to as a regular hiring list that where you all go through that process? There's so many unanswered questions, and anytime I've tried to get clarification on it, I feel like I'm just, well, blocked out. So I still think it would be helpful if the merit board had a committee that we could do this. We could go in, we could cross-reference what do we need to change in our own rules and procedures, because the existing ordinance requires the Merit Commission to have its own rules and procedures. So you've got to have those. If they are amended, there's a process that you have to go through to amend those, and it is set forth in the rules and procedures as well as the ordinance, I believe. I fully understand the need to get police officers as quickly as possible and get them functional. But we have to do it correctly.
Yeah, I think this is part of why it's frustrating, because if we had been able to work with Chief, and if, John mentioned a couple police department representatives, if we had been able to sit down like I had anticipated it was going to go, we could have had this all worked out before it was brought to the council. I mean, and that's the thing. Now, Chief, do you know, how does Carmel, are they on a merit system?
Yes. So first of all, I'd like to say it seems that I came in during a firestorm, and I'm kind of stuck in the crosshairs here. But when I got with Shauna last Wednesday to work on the amendment for the lateral, the goal and my intent and what we did was we added only the literature that we had to in the amendment, which was the change in the statute per age and the allowance, general allowance for a lateral transfer, so long as they meet a few standards which are common across the board, they have the academy, and they have at least 1 year of law enforcement experience working for a full-time agency. Those are the only things that are changing in that ordinance. My intention, and it was for the purpose of not amending anything or taking any purview that you already have away from the Merit Commission. The current ordinance allows for you to set the standards for any process. So everything that you're wanting to do, you can still do. We can form a committee to work on what steps you want them to go through. As far as the actual process, my opinion is nothing needs to change. I don't think any rules need to be rewritten. We do it exactly in the same way we do the regular process. We're not eliminating regular processes. The ordinance just simply allows for you to have a lateral if you so choose. And up until this last process, which Linda pointed out at the meeting, we had not actually brought these 3 guys on, but we accepted pre-applications. I can't think of another time, and I haven't always been involved in it, but I can't think of another time where we ran 2 processes at the same time. So I would have no intentions of doing that. We would expire our current list before we started another process. So in short, the intention was to leave everything the same, not take any purview away from the commission. You guys still make the rules. All this ordinance is doing is saying that now you can accept lateral transfers. It's not telling you how to do it.
But would we be accepting, I guess, like I said, I apologize not being clear, but would officers from other departments only be able to apply for a lateral during our open hiring process, or would they?
Well, we would open so this process, we would open it only for lateral transfers. So it would work exactly the way the regular process works, where they filled out an online app, but they had to meet those requirements that they are already a police officer with the academy and 1 year of experience. So.
Okay, and Chief, I mean, this is helpful that you are explaining this, because I think you've heard the frustration.
Sure.
The members don't fully understand how this will work, and we're trying to work with you,
right,
to make sure we do it correctly. So, does the department have an opinion then on how? So they come in and they lose their rank, or do they come in and have any responsibilities?
No, they come in as a probationary officer, just as it is now. If they have, let's say we take a sergeant from IMPD, he comes in as a probationary patrolman with the Greenwood Police Department, lowest in seniority, and all of his benefits and pay start just as any new hire would. And that's why I go back to, that was the intention of not making any other modifications, because if there are going to be modifications made, I wanted it to be made by the Merit Commission.
So that is totally different than the paperwork that you sent Linda as far as how Carmel does it.
Oh, I was asked at the meeting by Mike to send an example of how another agency does it.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Can I ask one more question? So, as and correct me if I'm wrong, but we will still be able to go through the kind of interview process with these lateral transfers. Is that correct?
That is up to you. You guys set the rules. However, my recommendation is to keep it exactly the way that it's ran now. So we will have IPSP come in, and we will have a written test. They will have an oral interview with the Merit Commission. Okay. They will go through a background, and the difference with someone who's already in perf is, so in a lot of lateral transfers, the agencies elect not to make them go through the perf physical exam and psychological exam. I don't like that. I think that they need to go through those exams, because we may be getting someone who took those exams 10 years ago and has acquired a psychological problem or a physical problem that 6 months down the road, they're going to retire on us and we're going to be paying them a medical retirement. So I would like to keep that step in, just to vet them appropriately.
I agree with that totally, Jimmy.
Right.
We also.
Now, Linda, let me ask this. Is this anything that we could have an executive session with the chief? Walk through and work on this? Is that anything that's allowable under open door?
I'm going to check. It might come under the section to discuss prospective employees. But I want to check on that. And I don't know, Martha, if you have any insight on that, if what your opinion is. I know you've dealt, excuse me, I know you've dealt with the open door law before.
Well, and I have no problem with, you know, if it's Mike and Tom or whatever that want to work with the chief. I'm just wondering if at some point we all need to sit down and be able to go through this and understand how it's going to work.
I think it would be helpful, even if you had to call a special session, because all of you have many questions, and I think they all need to be brought out and discussed so that we have a full understanding of what to do, because then you'll know what to include in your own writing of the process. Martha, were you going to say something?
Oh, I was just going to say, I always I go back to the statute and look at the categories every time there's a question and see, do we meet any of them? I don't go by my memory. I go and look at it.
Okay. And that's what just came to mind. I know there's one of the categories that says you can meet to discuss prospective employees, I believe is the wording on it.
Yeah. That's normally what we use when
Yes.
he brings this information he wants cut from the list that we don't want on in public. I mean, I don't have a problem if like Mike and Tom or whoever it is want to sit down with Chief and like jump off and start somewhere so we have a starting point. I don't know how beneficial it would be if we all just did an executive session and started from scratch. So I'm thinking maybe if a few of them wanted to start the legwork on, you know, writing down some details or things we want to be sure and include. I don't know. How does everybody else feel about it?
Well, I have one question. So when they said at the council meeting that the first reading was passed, or the first reading, there will be a second reading. Does that mean that automatically that second reading means it passes the thing, or what? I didn't understand that part.
Yes, what they did was they waived the rules. Monday night was supposed to be the introduction. And then the next meeting would have been the first reading. And then at the meeting after that would have been the second reading. So they did a motion to waive the introduction and go right to the first reading. So the next council meeting, it will be on the agenda for the second reading. It's already passed unanimously, the first one. So if it passes the second one, then that new ordinance, it will be effective.
So this has to be done pretty quick then. I mean, if you make a committee to go over this, if it's going to be done next month, then we got to figure out everything pretty quickly, correct?
Not necessarily, Joy. I think what Chief is saying is that if we just get the ordinance in place that allows for lateral transfers, then the Merit Commission can establish the process for that. And
I see. Okay.
correct me if
Right.
I'm wrong, Chief, but I think that's what I understood you to say.
Yes, absolutely. So even with this ordinance passing, we can't hire anyone or start a process without the merit board's approval. You guys still have all of the authority that nothing's being taken away. We're just adding the option for you, if you so choose, to allow us to do a lateral. That's it. And the age, but we have to change the age.
Right. And you know, and I didn't have a problem with the ordinance per se. It was just the fact that, and I'm not faulting you, Chief, at all. I mean,
Oh, I know.
you know, I'm sorry you're caught in the middle of this, but yeah, I was just disappointed again that, you know, I won't say any more on record.
Well, I will tell you though, I did not meet with her to give my input on it until I think it was Wednesday. And I think I received the draft on Thursday. So the reason why it was done in that fashion was to be able to meet the agenda time requirements for Monday night's meeting. So that's why over the weekend, Sunday, I sent it to you guys. I should have done it Friday and I got busy and sidetracked, but I won't. Yeah.
Well, okay. So I mean, we can go ahead and start, Joy. We can go ahead and start because, I mean, it's probably gonna get passed through the second reading, and I don't know that any of us has a real objection to the ordinance, or do we? Does someone have an objection to the ordinance itself?
No, I don't have any objection.
Okay.
I just was
Okay.
trying to get my head around, I've never been to a council meeting, so I was just trying to get my head around that.
Right,
And,
yeah.
no, it's fine. You know, sometimes you have these, you want something explained precisely, that's all. But yeah, it's fine to pass. I mean, it's fine with me.
Okay, so how, board, what do you want to do? Do you want to have Mike and Tom, or I guess it can only be 2 members, so we don't have a quorum, but 2 people, if Chief's willing to sit down and maybe kind of look at this, or Linda, what do you think we should do?
I think that might be a good idea to start with Mike and Tom, and if Chief, you can meet with them. We want the process to be as smooth as possible so that it can be functional as quickly as possible. We understand the frustrations of the police department and needing more officers. I mean, you're looking at your biggest fans as far as making sure the department runs smoothly. These people are your biggest allies. And I just hate that they're being cast in such disparaging ways. So I don't know, Mike, you and Tom, what do you think? Do you want to still do that? And how soon do you want to start, if so? Or do you all think that having just a special meeting and all of you bring some ideas to the table, and will that speed it up any?
I think if Tom and I can meet with Jimmy and lay out, you know, some thoughts about things like, can we have just a lateral process, or do we have to open up the process for everyone? Because I just seen a thing on Facebook where I think it was Noblesville has a lateral only process going right now. And we're kind of in a crunch because by the time IPSP does all their testing and all that stuff, I think we need to get boots on the ground pretty quick. And I think what the council has done is just provided us with that vehicle to do that.
So my goal is, once we get this worked out and you guys give me the approval, I want from start to finish, I'm going to try, but my goal is to expedite the process. We're going to do it thoroughly and like we always do, but we're not going to have much downtime in between steps. I'd like to get it done in 8 weeks from start to finish before we hire our selected officers.
Well,
Linda,
I'm
sorry.
available, Jimmy, anytime that you are, that we can get started on this.
Okay, it'll have to be the week after next because I am on vacation next week. So I will get
Fine.
with you and we'll set something up. I'll shoot you a text tonight and you can let me know if a date and time that will work for you.
Okay. And I would rather does it have to be virtual? Or can
No,
come
you
to your
can come
office?
in the office. Yeah. Yeah, you guys are welcome in the office.
We'll give you like maybe half a day to get caught up from your vacation.
Okay.
Is that good?
Yeah, that's fine.
So Linda, what would be the process then if we get something written up fairly quickly? What do we have to do to amend our rules and regs or procedures or?
I will go in and check on that and get an email out to you.
Okay.
Chief, I wanted to make sure I understand. You want to get what done in 8 weeks? Are you saying you want a process in place and you want to send out an invitation for applications and start interviewing within 8 weeks, or what is that 8-week deadline?
So we will have to do a pre-application process, just like we usually do. Well, at least that's my plan. And typically we give them a month. So not including that month, but once that month is over and we do the physical agility where we hand out the actual application and start the process, the written test, physical agility, interviews, backgrounds, and perfs for physicals, I want to try to get from start to finish the process, basically from the time we start this process until we have a list made, 8 weeks.
And you're saying process including the 30-day application period?
No. So
Okay.
the pre-app wouldn't be included in that because we have to give them a appropriate amount of time to apply. So I think 30 days, and then if we can get, so let's say hypothetically December 1st we're ready to take pre-apps. January 1st we start the process. By about March 1st we should be ready to bring somebody on.
Okay, thank you for that.
You're welcome.
And then with these lateral, is this something we will be discussing as to whether the lateral transfers are just after we exhaust our list?
The list is exhausted.
Okay, once it's exhausted, then we go to the laterals. Okay.
Yes.
Well, from what I understand, the list is now exhausted, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
So are we going to then halt that process and only do lateral applications at this point? Or
That's what I.
because if you put this online, Chief, you're going to get more than lateral transfers to apply.
Well, I was going to ask, are you going to work with IT or someone as far as
So what
information
the other
on the
agencies,
application, so it's real clear that it's just laterals at this point?
right?
Okay.
What the other agencies do is they post, they'll post a lateral only hiring process, and they will list the bullet points, the requirements to even get a pre-app. So it'll say you have to have completed the Law Enforcement Academy. You have to have at least 1 year of full-time paid experience. Be under the age of 40 by the time you're hired. All of the requirements. Not have a felony. And once we accept the pre-apps on there, they will have to list the date that they completed the academy and where they have worked. So that'll tell us whether or not they fit that. And the way I envision this is as needed basis. So the ordinance allows for you to do a lateral whenever the merit board sees fit. So we do this lateral and we get the 8 guys we need. The next process can be a regular process. This is going to be, in my opinion, for emergency type situations like we're in right now.
So, Chief, are you going to, as part of the application process, are they going to have to be employed by a law enforcement agency presently, or just have been employed by one?
They have to have been employed within the past 180 days, I believe.
Okay.
So they can't have a gap of longer than 180 days.
Well, and I'm thinking, I mean, if you get your 8, that's great, but we probably need to start another regular process as well, because you get your 8, you still don't have a list.
Right.
So we'll
Right. So yeah, once we exhaust that list, and I guess, we could probably, that's something to think about when I talk to Mike and Tom, if we want to put a time limit on how long that list is good for, or amend how many to get 8. Sometimes, usually a list is 35 people, and sometimes we go through, just like this one, we went through all 35 of them to get, I think, 12, and you never know. So it might be beneficial to put a time limit on it.
That's something you guys certainly can discuss. And
Yeah.
But I don't like the idea of starting a process with an active list in place. I'd rather exhaust that list and then start a new process.
well, and I think that's how it reads, that it's to be
Right.
done, every 2 years, unless the list is exhausted.
Yes, that's right.
So yeah, we can't just pick up and
Gentlemen,
start one.
this is Tom Brogan that spoke in there, and I'm in agreement with everything. I don't mind being part of this activity. Matter of fact, I'd be honored by it. But Jim, I thought I got the impression when we were talking outside the meeting the other day that there was somewhat of an urgency to get some of these particularly the IPS people who want to try to move on, IPD, I'm sorry, want to move on to other neighborhood counties, we would have had a much better selection if we got kind of started early.
Right. So that's what's happening right now. You're seeing other agencies like Noblesville just last week started a lateral transfer process. So yeah, those guys are going to be, there's going to be a mass exodus from IMPD. Yeah. So it's just diluting the pool that we're going to get. So the more agencies that jump in, the more the pool gets diluted, but there's not much we can do about it. I think we're moving at the fastest pace we can, and I think 8 weeks, an 8-week process is probably pushing the limits, but at the same time, we have to vet these guys, because if we get bad apples or people with, problems, it's not gonna help us in the long run.
And that is, I guess a risk you take when you do transfers
Right.
in any kind of company is like, are they wanting them to go because they don't really fit there, or what the deal is? So
I can tell you though, I've spoken to some of the other agencies who have done them in the past, and they're pretty happy with the officers that they've gotten through the laterals. Everyone says the same thing. You have to really vet them, because I'm always very leery when I talk to someone who comes from a different agency and their chief says, "Oh yeah, they're the best officer in the world. You should take them."
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah.
And then I also like that we'll have that 1-year probationary period too, so that if they don't fit with Greenwood, they don't get offered the permanent.
Well, I'll be honest with you. One thing that I wish we would have done, and maybe we can in future years, but the budget's already in place for this year. A lot of these agencies will bring the officers on at So if they have 3 years of experience, they would come on as a first class patrolman. So they wouldn't have that, they would still have a probationary year, but they wouldn't receive probationary pay. And that would help because when you're competing with Carmel and Noblesville, who's bringing them on at $15,000 more than what we're going to bring them on, if they have the choice, they're obviously going to choose to go there. So that's something to think about in the future, which I mean, you guys don't have much say in what they get paid, but I think that's going to be a recommendation that I make in future years with the council on upping that, because it really is a problem. If everybody was doing it, bringing them in at probationary salary rates, no problem. But when you're competing with people who are giving them, because an IMPD officer right now is making like, I think a first class patrolman's at 70 or 71, and we're going to bring them on at 48. That's hard for them to leave, you know? So.
Yeah.
And even the Carmel sample that you sent to us, they have pay scale based on how many years they served at their other department, and it's substantial.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. I wasn't in on that. John, I know he felt pretty adamant about bringing them in at the probationary rate. That's why he did away with the second class, so that they would only work that for a year and then they would receive first class patrolman rate. But I mean, just looking at all the other agencies and what they're doing, that's hard to compete with, you know? I mean, it just is. But I think we're going to be good with it because, and we won't get all IMPD officers, but especially IMPD. Like I said, I was at a funeral and they were coming up to me because they saw me in uniform asking about the lateral transfer process. They're really not happy up there.
Well, I'm trusting that you, through your contacts and any of us that have an occasion to speak to anybody from a department, we can certainly let them know that it's coming.
Yes.
So.
Yeah. Our guys are super excited about it. Simply
I was going to
because,
ask that. Yeah.
Oh yeah, super excited. They're asking me every day where we are in the process and how long it's going to take, because they really are. I mean, we're at a critical staffing point right now. It's not uncommon. It's not every shift, but it's not uncommon to give guys days off that we have to borrow from another shift to get that position covered. So my goal is, I'm hoping by the end of next year, staffing is no longer an issue for us. If we can get all 11, which we've got 3 coming on from the current list a week from Monday, and then 8 off of the laterals, that will really boost our numbers up and give us, now we could still use more. I'm not going to say we couldn't, but we won't be borrowing or robbing Peter to pay Paul, you know.
Chief, what is the situation with the academy at this point? You said there are 3 new ones coming on. Can they get into the academy anytime soon?
Well, we won't know yet because, I mean, we may be able to get 3 of them in. The next available class, which would be 2 classes from now. What the academy's done is, because of COVID and them shutting down, they have changed the law for Indiana officers. It used to be, and I think this is just a temporary modification, but used to be from the time you got hired, by the end of your first year, you had to have the academy or you couldn't be a law enforcement officer. They've extended that to 2 years because they know they're not going to get all these guys trained. So the problem is, while they were not allowing people into the academy, all these agencies who are hiring officers are now backing up, so there's a wait list. So these 3 that we have coming on, I think will be good at getting them in, not this next class, but the following class. But there's no way we would get 8 slots. Usually we get 2, maybe 3. So if we didn't do a lateral, we would be waiting probably 4 to 5 classes out to get them all through. And they're
Jimmy,
6 weeks each.
has there been any thought of maybe sending some of them to IPD's academy?
No, we've never done it. Not opposed to thinking outside the box, but
I
the
know
only
when
thing that
I
I'm
know
sorry?
when I went through the academy at IPD, we had probably 10 officers in my class that were, from Mooresville, Greenwood. We had several Greenwood officers in my class.
Well, I think that's going to change now, Mike, because for the same reason that the officers are so unhappy, IMPD is changing their way of training, especially when it comes to use of force.
Yeah, I know that.
I don't think I want my officers trained. As a matter of fact, they just got publicly, the state police superintendent issued a scathing email to Chief Taylor for starting their training process in the new use of force policy because it's unconstitutional and the Law Enforcement Training Board is not going to approve it. So they're doing something right now that hasn't been approved by the Law Enforcement Training Board. And I think it's going to get them in some hot water. Basically what they're wanting to do is change what the Supreme Court has ruled as the gold standard for determining reasonableness for use of force. They're wanting to make it appropriate. So instead of the language saying the officer used reasonable force, what a reasonable and prudent person, or what a reasonable and prudent police officer would deem was a reasonable amount of force, they're wanting to change it from reasonable to an appropriate amount of force. Well, what does appropriate mean? The Supreme Court, this has gone back years and years, and it's a response because of political pressure up there, and it's gonna cost them a lot of money and probably some officers' jobs before that's over with.
I can't disagree with the thing you said, because it's going to get ugly.
Yeah.
I have one more question. Okay, if we're not able to get the officers through the academy, and what happens if they don't get through the academy before their 1-year probation is up? Is that going to have any effect?
No, because they have 2 years to get through the academy. The year of probation
Okay.
doesn't specify. So once they've completed a year, we have never had that.
Okay.
But it could get that way. I can tell you, if we were not allowed to do a lateral, we would have that. We would have officers who were going to be solo working the road because they've completed FTO and all their training, but do not have the academy.
Academy. That's what, yeah.
And a lot of agencies are doing that right now. There's officers working the road full time that don't have the academy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not
What
the
day-
ideal situation.
Right.
What is the date when the 3 new officers are going to be sworn in?
October 19th, a week from Monday at 10 a.m. in the council chambers.
Okay. Can we come to that, or is that?
Yes.
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 Okay.
Open to anyone.
I'm planning on attending right now, so, okay.
What was the time on it again?
10 o'clock.
10 o'clock on the 19th.
It's a Monday, right? Monday morning.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, anything else on laterals or what have you? Okay, so Chief will get a hold of Mike and Tom, and you guys can kind of start putting a few of the details down, and then we'll keep in touch and let us know where you're at. If we need to call a special session, or if Linda finds out we can have an executive to discuss it,
That's what I was going to say. Mike and Tom and Chief, if you feel like I'm sorry about that. if you feel like you've made some progress in a couple of weeks or so and you want to meet with the full board, just let us know. We'll do a special session. I don't even know that we need to do an executive. We can just call a special session.
Okay.
I mean, too bad we can't meet in person, but
Yeah.
it's still helpful.
Mike and Tom, I'm looking at my calendar, and would Wednesday, October 21st at 9 a.m. work for you?
Let me check. That's good for me.
It's good for me. Wednesday, the 21st at 9 o'clock.
Yes. And we'll just meet in the conference room, the Chiefs conference room,
Okay, what time did you say, Jimmy?
9 a.m.
9 a.m.? Okay.
Okay, moving right along. Any other new business? Business from the floor? We have no one. I didn't see anybody else sign in. Anything from the attorney?
No.
Okay. Chief?
No, I think I've covered everything.
Chief is like, let me out of here. Okay, so we don't really have any committee yet. Okay, budget or claims, Misty?
I have a claim in the amount of $333 for Attorney Myers services for the month of, would be August, or September. Approval for September, or, I'm sorry, I have my notes all mixed up. So last month's, claim for Attorney Myers services, which would have been September, and approval for this month's per diems for the commissioners.
I'll make a motion then that we pay our bills.
I'll second that.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
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 Okay, so does that mean, Misty, you need us to come in and sign those per diems?
That would be fantastic, and I've made other arrangements with Martha.
Thank you, Missy. If you could email them to me, perfect. Thank you.
That's all.
Okay, so everybody will be responsible to get a hold of Misty and get those signed. Okay, any other comments from any commission members?
No, I just want to thank Jimmy for everything he's done with this process.
Oh, you're welcome. I'm excited to get it rolling. Lord knows we need the officers, and I think we'll get good ones.
I hope so.
I agree, and I'm sorry. It seems like we've started off a little. I don't know.
Don't worry about it. It's I think it's more of a timing issue for me than anything.
Yeah.
But no, I certainly want to have a good working relationship with the commission. So just know
It
that.
must be a hard job. You gotta take a vacation after the first month. But I'm welcome aboard. It's gonna be great.
Yeah.
Okay, so no comments from the floor. Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
I make
I'll
a
make-
motion, we adjourn.
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Okay, thank you, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Enjoy your vacation, Chief.
Yes. Enjoy the vacation, Chief.
Yeah.
Oh, he's gone. He's history.
Yeah. Okay, guys, I will start looking at that. And if I find out something quickly, I'll just send out an email.
Okay.
All right. But
Thank you, everybody.
does everyone have a copy of the present rules and procedures?
I do.
Yeah.
Okay.
I do somewhere, but if you could email them, that would be great.
Okay, all right, because that's
Thank
that's
you.
what we're going to have to look at, as well as compare the existing ordinance, and so we don't run into any conflicting language. Have to start over.
Okay.
All right.
Thank
You
you.
have a
Misty.
nice weekend.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.